Welcome back, everyone, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Hord here.
Lorenzo Phan, sitting over here.
Hello, Lorenzo. Good evening.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Early December.
Man.
We got another episode of Star Wars Resistance today.
We're rolling along.
Station Theta Black.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty menacing.
So, as always, we will go into a quick summary and review of the whole episode.
Full spoiler alert.
Yep, absolutely. So, as such, if you haven't watched the episode, turn away now, go watch it, come back, listen to Kevin and I talk about our opinions afterwards. So, going into it, we start the episode with Yeager and Bucket. And there's this little conversation, and we discover that Yeager has let Kaz borrow the fireball. Tam gets mad. Tam notes that there are the stabilizers are not all fixed in the fireball, and that is bad. We cut to Kaz, who is in the fireball, has a few issues flying the thing, but BB-8 is with him, and through that we learn that he is meeting up with Poe Dameron. Things start looking bad when the stabilizers aren't, stabilizing the fireball. But
yeah, I think he makes a comment like, "Oh, everything's going to be good as long as these stabilizers hold."
Right, and they don't.
And they don't.
Yeah. So, anyways, Poe shows up and basically comes to rescue Kaz. It was like a meeting point or something like that, and by coincidence, timing was just good for Kaz. So, anyways, once aboard the ship, Kaz meets up with Leia, gives Leia the First Order's proposal for Doza that he took from previous episode. And Leia thinks that they've tracked the First Order and knows where a potential base of theirs might be.
And I will say that she tells Kaz that it's through the information that he's been gathering that they have found this lead. So that's where that lead comes from. So kudos to Kaz, I suppose. Or Kados.
Oh, no. No. Anyways, so Kaz and Poe go to check on further intel. Leia tells them to not engage. Kaz and Poe go find a First Order station hiding in the middle of an asteroid field. There are no life signs aboard, so they head on to the station to investigate. The station is being, as they start sneaking around, there's another droid, CB-23, that is following around Poe. Poe gives them the orders to take the 2 X-Wings that they flew in on and go hide somewhere just in case anybody comes back so they don't get spotted immediately. Through investigating the station, they discover that it is being prepped for demolition, and that is why there are no life signs aboard. There is a security droid that activates and starts shooting at them. Kaz can't shoot for shit, basically. Poe takes it down with one shot. They kind of go back and forth about how Kaz is freaking out that an alarm might have been tripped, and Poe's like, no, there's no alarm. We cut to Phasma, where she gets an alarm that somebody's on the station. So they head to the station to investigate whatever triggered the alarm. We get a quick conversation that explains from Phasma that they are destroying the station to get rid of evidence. Kaz and Poe are still trying to figure out what the station is there for. Kaz figures out that it's a mining and processing station, and it is mining asteroids for Deadlanite. There are 200 keels of Deadlanite.
200 million.
That have been mined. Yeah, 200 million keels. And Deadlanite is something that's used to make blasters. So it's going to make a lot of blasters. As they try and make their way out, some stormtroopers bump into them. Poe waits to engage, but engages nonetheless. And then, in turn, also engages Phasma. They run around the station a little bit. Kaz and Poe get back in their X-Wings. CB-23 brings them back to them. Phasma gets in a shuttle of her own. The detonation will proceed. Some TIE fighters that were hanging out. Von Reg, the red stormtrooper, was hanging out in one of them. He's in his own red TIE fighter. They engage Kaz and Poe, and there's a nice dogfight that happens. And then Phasma tells Von Reg to get out of there. Von Reg is like, "No, I almost got them." But Phasma tells him to leave or else he will die with them. And it is because the station starts blowing up, and there's a nice big blast cloud that is starting to spread. Kaz and Poe are flying out of there to make sure that they aren't in the blast radius. Kaz starts falling behind, gets enveloped in this blast radius. Poe goes back to try and find him. For a moment, it looks bad, but then it turns out that Kaz was hiding in an asteroid, using it as a shield. We go back to the is it still the Tantive 4? Is that what Leia's ship is? Is that what they're on? Or is it just another Tantive looking ship?
It's another Corvette.
Okay, yeah. So it's another, yeah. So we're back on Leia's ship. She gets more intel basically through what they discovered in this episode. Kaz does not think senators will believe that the First Order are mining materials for blasters or weapons of any sort. Kaz does bring up his own father as an example of how senators think, which I found very interesting. Leia mentions that it will be a hard sell because many senators are, in fact, profiting from the weapons. And with that, we get a few more beats in the story, but then we ensue fanfare after that.
Fanfare.
I think that is the fastest we have ever gone through one of these episodes. So
that was quick. That was like 3 minutes.
Thank goodness. I was trying to blast through that one for sure. The only note I have, she has been on the show before, but it's been a while since we've seen Leia, and Carolyn Hennessy is the voice of Leia here.
Has she been on the show before, or was she just in the previews?
No, she was in
Was she in the
2 or something? Episode 1, actually.
But this is the first time that Kaz has met her, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because Kaz kind of...
Because she would have been...
She was a hologram form in the first episode.
On the recruit.
And then...
Yeah.
And then at some point we do meet up with her again, I thought.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think she was on the recruit, at least in hologram form, and... Kaz kind of thought that he was going to meet up with her, but it's one of those Scooby-Doo situations where you open the door and the person's not there, and you know, then you think they're behind another door or whatever. But yeah, Carolyn Hennessy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other note that I have for voiceover credit is that Oscar Isaac gets... like his complete own screen. It's like everyone else in the episode is listed. It's like voiceover cast, yada yada yada, like run through everybody, and then it's like that clears and then goes to another screen. And it's like, and Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron. Did you notice that?
Yes, and that is a very common thing for credit negotiations. So you always want to be credited first, per se, right? Like if you're in a starring role, Tom Cruise is going to fight to get his name on top, right? Mm-hmm. Secondly, if you aren't, say, like a major character in a certain film, right? Another big power play for credit sequences is either after with somebody or leading up at the end and somebody, because there's the idea that whether or not you get your own credit card, it's still just kind of like a power play to be like, and this person, because that's how special they are.
So how come you think Gwendolyn Christie was not treated in the same regard?
I'm sure, again, it's probably down to negotiation tactics. Maybe it's because as of now, Poe has been a bigger character, all the same. And Poe and Oscar Isaac definitely kind of has been doing more. I'm not going to say that Gwendolyn Christie is doing less. It's just like she is known specifically for Game of Thrones, right? But Oscar Isaac does have a body of work that an agent might have been able to kind of negotiate some cool, special, awesome final graphics card, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he was Apocalypse, right?
He was Apocalypse. You also got like Ex Machina in there, Annihilation, even. You know, like it's just a different sort of structure there. So, you know, it's not that Gwendolyn Christie is any less of an actor. It's just these are negotiation tactics that even Oscar Isaac might not know about, right? You know, there are infamous stories about Weird Al was trying to do a parody of a Lady Gaga song, went to her agent, they gave him the go-ahead, he wrote a song, and went back to them and was like, hey, here's the song I made for Lady Gaga, or like the parody, right? And the record label is like, oh, no, we don't like that at all. We rescind our permission for you to parody a Lady Gaga song. So then Weird Al, like, tweets about it, and Lady Gaga, being Lady Gaga, is like, when the fuck did this happen? Weird Al wants to make a parody of one of my songs. That's like the biggest honor you can have as a musician, you know?
Do you know what song it was?
It was Born This Way. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, because Lady Gaga intervened, the song was officially released, and so, you know, happy ending there. But yeah, like this whole back and forth happened between Weird Al and a record label, and Lady Gaga had no clue that this was happening.
So, like, essentially the reverse happened with Living in an Amish Paradise. And that didn't go as well.
Right. So he got permission. Coolio found out about it after it got released. Coolio didn't like it because he thought the song was so serious that it shouldn't have been parodied. But over the years, Coolio has chilled the fuck out and realized what an honor it is to be recognized in that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was 23 then. You know, would he live to see 24? The way things are going, I don't know. But I bet the dude's like 40-something now.
Right.
Pushing 50.
And also, yeah, and it's always interesting me, the artists that have a negative reaction to that, because Lady Gaga's reaction to me is like the appropriate one, where you aren't famous until somebody wants to make a parody of your work. You know what I mean? Like that, even if it's a negative reaction back to you per se.
Right.
Just the fact that somebody has a reaction to your work and wants to like do something with it is a high honor. But when it's Weird Al who only spins everything positively, right? Like he took Gangster's Paradise and made Amish Paradise. Like, where is the harm in that? You know?
What was the Star Wars song that he did?
He did that with American Pie.
That's right.
Don McLean's American Pie.
Mr. Anakin guy.
Yep.
That's right.
Maybe Vader someday later. Now he's just a small fry.
I need to take a break so I can go and listen to that song, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
That song, unfortunately, does not go as long as Don McLean's version, which I wish there was a longer version that was. Yeah. Since Don McLean's song is like 8 minutes long. But yeah. And I remember when that song came out, Weird Al was like, hey, it's a parody of an old song, but it's still a parody and it works. So.
I would imagine that by copyright law falling under the parody situation that Weird Al doesn't actually need your figure up.
It depends on the song. I know where you're going. So there are certain exemptions to apply for fair use. So parody is one of them. Criticism is another. There's 4, and I can't remember the other 2, but criticism and parody are 2 big ones. And
I hope commentary is one of them because that might cover us.
Well, criticism is
right.
part of that. So
right.
criticism is part of that. Also the other issue is that we aren't, other than like the thumbnails we put on YouTube, right? We aren't really putting too much of episodes into our episode.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like we played the trailer in one of our episodes, but then we immediately talked about it afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Weird Al, his songs aren't exact parodies by the legal sense of the word, nor is he making some sort of statement or criticism about the songs themselves.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's kind of part of the issue, and that's why he asks permission just in case. And especially, it's one thing to release a song as a fun ditty, and he's done that in retaliation to some degree before, where James Blunt's recording label, Atlantic, took away permission for him to cover a song and told him to never release it commercially. So he performed it live, and then it still got out into the world, but he didn't make money off of it, But yeah, he still asks just to cover his bases. So, because like a song like Amish Paradise isn't really commenting on the original song whatsoever, right?
Right.
But the parody he did of Nirvana's Smell Like Teen Spirit, where he makes fun of how nobody can understand Kurt Cobain in that damn song, that is a commentary on that song and therefore would be fine under fair use. So
interesting.
Yeah. Yep. So
and
it just
there
it just
you
depends.
have it.
That's our legal talk here on Not the Nerds. So that's at least my understanding. There are probably going to be a lot of minute details in there that I'm fucking up, but that's kind of like the big picture shit. So like there's a reason why, like, if you and I sat here and you were like, well, this is the fine beer I'm drinking right now, like, it's not product placement because we're not getting paid for it, nor is it promotion because we're not getting paid for it. So it's just one of those fair usage things, right? Where it's just like you're just drinking it, and it's just how it is, right?
Sierra Nevada Brewery is neither promoting me nor compensating me for enjoying their Hazy Little Thing IPA.
Ooh, good choice.
At
Very
this
nice.
moment, but it is pretty tasty. They do have a nice slogan on their can that says "Family owned, operated, and argued over." Thought that was nice. But
nice.
now that we have gotten to the bottom of Weird Al's legal conundrums, I think we'll get back to Resistance. And my first question was about Yeager lending the Fireball to Kaz as a broken ship. And I feel like Yeager should have known something, right? Because the Fireball is consistently in a state of repair, and I feel like if it was space worthy, it would probably also be worthy of like racing, and everybody knows that the Fireball like isn't fit for flight, right?
Well, flying leisurely, like taking a car down the street to like pick up fast food, is going to be different than taking your car to try and enter it into the Indy 500.
I agree with you, but taking your car and driving to Hawaii,
right,
is also different than taking your car and driving it down the street.
Yeah, so I'm assuming the thing is like Kaz is just leisurely flying this thing, and it, as we see, like, there's no part of the original mission that is going to see the Fireball in any sort of major action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's like driving from LA to
St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. In the Star Wars universe, it's still different because he's like the planet is still behind him. Like we can still see it in view for a portion of his flight, isn't it?
I don't know.
So
I didn't
he's
catch
not
that.
he's not far. I don't think.
Which does lead me to my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there no type of security on this planet that monitors space travel? Right? Like, they always know when some pirates are coming in.
Right.
Right? But Kaz can, like, just break atmosphere and go a little bit further. You know, a moon's distance, shall we say.
Right.
And meet up with the Resistance and Leia. Like, it seems a little bit irresponsible to rendezvous so close to the planet itself.
Right.
I'm not really sure.
And now that you bring it up, every time they do go into the Colossus, they do have to check in with customs. So I wonder if there's like an outbound process as well.
You would think there was something like, I don't know, maybe a Corvette cruiser isn't large enough to
raise any flags.
Yeah.
And especially because like
alarms, if you will.
And their main concern is always pirates, right? Like a Corvette cruiser is not. They're probably like looking at that like they're like, yeah, no pirates there. We're good. So yeah, I'm just wondering more so as the episode continued on. I enjoyed that scene with Yeager and Tam and Bucket, but it still was like a weird. It still was like a weird step to try and set things up that didn't involve Kaz. You know, like
it was erroneous. I mean,
yeah,
it's not necessary at all.
But it was a good moment.
We could have just jumped into Kaz in the fireball talking to BB-8, like, you know, man, I hope the fireball like holds up and whatever.
It was nice of Yeager to let us borrow it.
Right, exactly. That's yeah.
That's all we needed. So yeah.
Yeah.
So what else you got for this one?
Next up, apparently BB-8 has a girlfriend. Did you catch this?
Right. Yeah, CB-23. They're definitely kind of staring into each other's eyes, and Poe makes a mention that, all right, lovebirds, we can catch up later.
Love droids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
so I looked into it, and apparently BB-8 was jealous of CB-23 when they met back in Signal from Sector 6. This is when the two droids meet because Poe comes to whatever planet the Colossus is on. I can never remember.
Right. But yeah, he shows up. Yeager brings him to Poe, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeager takes Kaz to Poe. Kaz has BB-8. Poe's got CB-23. So BB-8 was jealous, but then after their adventure together, they apparently they fell in love, and they are love droids now.
Are they keeping in touch? How are they keeping in touch? You know,
I mean, they do have satellite dishes that like spring forth from their heads, so I would imagine that they can probably Skype into each other or something, send hidden messages. I'm not really sure.
Yes, yeah.
But, I guess that implies that droids also have compassionate relationships with other droids in one way or another. It's not just Lando that falls in love with another droid. It's BB-8 as well. So there you go.
Yeah.
After that, I wanted to talk about Leia.
Yeah.
My note on her is that she sounds great.
Yes,
but she looks too young.
I think it's just a animation
stylistic choice.
I don't even think it's a stylistic choice. It's just like how the character design works, and the fact that they're like CGI models, right? That I wonder if they maybe tried to add more details into her face, but it just got more distracting. Maybe
could be.
Right. It's just the way those models work, because I'm just trying to imagine and remember how the old people looked on some of the other shows. Well, some of the other shows that this animation company Polygon has worked on, you know, so like Knights of Sidonia on Netflix is about a spaceship out in the middle of space after the world has ended, right?
Okay.
So it's like a Noah's Ark in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a Noah's Ark that has been floating around for like 200 years, so they've been on that ship for a long fucking time, you know?
There was an entire season of Power Rangers that kind of centered around something similar to that. I believe
everybody touches upon
Power
this.
Rangers in space.
Ah.
Space Rangers? What is that called? I gotta look this up.
Yeah. So anyways, like, they had old people on that ship, and they basically just added in... they changed the shape of the face on the outside from what I can remember, with maybe a few extra lines in there. But I think what ends up happening when you do that is, like, they look straight up like geriatric. You know what I mean? Like, Leia is old,
right,
but
it
she's
goes
still
too
like
far.
Right. Like, she's walking around, but like these old people were like what's his name? Herbert from Family Guy style. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
So they end up looking more that type of old person rather than like a spry, healthier, older person, right?
I gotcha.
So that I agree though. Like, I noticed that as well, but that's my defense without actually knowing if that is why they would make a choice like that or not.
Yeah, I was thinking more how do I say it? Body shape. You know, she's got a very distinctive Leia face look. But like from neck down, she's kind of just like a generic character portrait with Leia clothes on.
Right. Yeah.
So, and you know, so be it. Maybe you need to put your assets elsewhere. And I'm not talking about the physical assets of the human body, but
even just like animation and
rendering
assets
is what I'm talking about.
Drawing, because essentially they would have to like model another body and all that stuff. So,
Side note, it is Power Rangers in space that I was talking about. I believe it is like season I don't know, 6 or 7, somewhere around there.
All right,
it's kind of a slog. It's kind of a slog to get through, but it gets better from there. It might even be as early as like season 4. I don't remember. I've seen many seasons of Power Rangers. I think we've talked about this before.
Original generation, then Turbo, then Neo. Was that the one that followed after that?
Could be.
Something like that. And then somewhere around there is when I dropped off, and I only cared about the original generation.
Yeah. Most recently, because I kind of fell off watching Power Rangers because other things have occupied my time. But I am on Jungle Fury, I think is what it's called, which is not a season title that I particularly like, but
they're not all winners.
What can you do?
Yeah. So, anyways, what do you think of this First Order station that they want to destroy?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, you know, like built into an asteroid and whatnot. So it's mining Deadlanite, which Wikipedia has no information on Deadlanite.
So it's a new thing for this episode.
You can Google Deadlanite, and it's one of those rare occurrences where Google says, I got nothing. So it's used to make blasters, right?
That is what is mentioned, yes.
Do you think it's actually for blasters? Because I do not.
I don't think so either. It's probably... Is it building that mega cannon that we eventually end up seeing in Last Jedi?
I was thinking more so it was probably mining for materials to build Starkiller Base.
That makes sense, but we already saw it, and it was looking like it was pretty far along.
Which is why this mining base is
it's already done, and it's
right,
set
because
to
they're
be
done.
destroyed, That's right. That is correct.
They used it. They got everything they needed out of it. I had a note that said, "Why is this station set for demo?" And you said in your recap that it was to destroy evidence. And then I corrected that note and I said, "What evidence?" And I think the evidence is that they're mining this deadlinite and it's going somewhere.
Right.
Why is there like a specific mineral that you need to make blasters?
Yeah, that's what and why haven't we heard of this before?
It seems kind of dumb.
In the Star Wars universe, I feel like shit that is used to make blasters has to have been covered somewhere.
I would think so. Yeah.
Right?
I'm guessing somewhere? It's probably just like Durasteel or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like you just throw Dura on the front end of some type of building material. Like there's Duracrete, Durasteel, Duraglass, Dura.
Right.
Fucking whatever. Duraskin. Like.
Just anything. But just as long as we don't go into Avatar unobtainium territory. But
unobtainium?
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I that's the only part of this that I found odd. Also, do you think it's necessary to destroy the whole facility to destroy evidence?
Probably.
Yeah.
To destroy evidence to the degree they want to just eliminate anything. I mean, I guess they got to blow up all those little buoys too.
Right.
And that actually would have been kind of cool if when Poe and Kaz are trying to escape from this blast, right? They're trying to outrun the blast, and Kaz is afraid that he's not fast enough, which doesn't really. I don't know if that makes sense to me, because presumably, like what is Poe doing to fly in his X-wing, which is not? I guess he doesn't have his black X-wing yet.
All the same, I think he probably has like a nice modded X-wing, right?
So you think it is modded out and it's actually faster than the one that Kaz was flying?
Yes. It's either modded out or there are just different X-wings and
there definitely are different X-wings, because when Luke first gets into an X-wing and blows up the first Death Star, he's in like a T-65.
Right.
These are T-70s.
Right. So, yeah, it's like the different versions of like the Tesla you can get. Some of them have insane mode and some of them don't.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
So that's how I'm viewing this, and because I don't assume that Kaz isn't putting the pedal to the metal, as it were, you know. So yeah, Kaz just got the short end of the stick of which TIE fighter to pilot.
What did you think he was doing when he ducked behind this asteroid?
Pretty much exactly what ended up happening. Like there was no shock or surprise to me there. So he ducks behind, like you see Poe and him flying parallel, and then he kind of does a not a barrel
he would have went
roll,
like
he does like a
he does
like
a dive.
roll
He goes
and
like
dive.
nose.
Yeah.
He goes like nose down. Yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of dives down. So yeah, it was real clear to me that he was gonna use the asteroid as a shield and just hide behind it. You know, so almost in the same way that Alan Grant and the two kids hide behind a log when the Dilophosaurus or whatever or Gallimimuses are running towards them. That's basically what I imagine he was doing with an asteroid.
For sure, except they are not running as fast as an X-wing in outer space.
Right.
I will say, so there's a couple of like dogfight scenes in this episode, and they how do I put this? In The Force Awakens on Takodana, like Poe comes in and he takes out like, I don't know, something like 23 TIE fighters in like 12 and a half seconds, right? And he's going like a million fucking miles an hour. These dogfights in this episode are slower, but I think that when I was watching them, like it felt okay because of like how slow ships moved in the original Star Wars trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just didn't move that fast. You know, banks and rolls were slower and stuff. So this felt to me like somewhere in between, and it was like a nice mesh for me from like classic Star Wars to like modern trilogy. It worked for me.
I'm glad you brought that up because I felt it odd that they're trying to run away from these TIE fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And from the body language of Poe and Kaz, it seemed like they were moving fast. But I think there was just something in the animation that, because there was nothing that you could measure against until they went right next to the station, there just wasn't a sensation of speed next to the station. Like there were, when they go in the trench on the Death Star, there's a lot of like texture on the side that you can see movement, right?
Right, flashing past. Yeah.
Right. On this one, there's like a few antennas and like that big loop thing that they're kind of flying underneath. So I was trying to figure out if they were going fast and the animation just wasn't conveying it properly, or if, as you said, they just weren't going super fast.
I felt like it was a deliberate approach to kind of match the animation speed of these things moving to the way that we saw, like the speed of the dogfights that we saw back in A New Hope and beyond. Like, it's just not as quick, like I said, as Poe fucking taking out a zillion fucking baddies in a half a minute.
Right, but to me, I still feel like they were still going slower here than they were in A New Hope during the Death Star trench run.
Okay.
There was no... Yeah, there just wasn't a sense of momentum in this one.
It definitely was not as dynamic as some other things that we have seen.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of it, too, is just also the animation. Like, it just needed, like... If maybe they just added some blurring even to that movement of the surface of the station moving past.
Okay. Yep.
That would help a lot.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Because, like, it's all in... When it comes to speed and sensation of speed, right? Like, you need other objects for reference. So
you need a frame of reference, otherwise you can't tell. Like,
it doesn't look like anything.
If you're in mid space, like with no planets or moons or stars or anything, there's nothing that you're moving past. You can be going a bazillion miles an hour, but when you look out the window, there's nothing there. It doesn't look like anything, right?
Because in the first Fast and Furious movie, when they're doing the quarter-mile long drag races, the filmmaker there was really smart because, they're not going like ultra fast. They're definitely going like 100 and something miles an hour, right? Like they're going like 150, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not like as fast as a fucking spaceship launching into space. But they still gave it a sensation of speed because anything outside those windows, like
it's moving really fucking fast.
Yeah, there's just like everything's blurring, right? Like we're like touching like anime style wipes, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Those background blurs that are all just lines, and it just made him feel like he was going 1,000 miles per hour. You know what I mean? Think about like Back to the Future too, 88 miles an hour. Like 88 miles an hour is not that fast, right? But there was just something cool about just seeing all the pavement run by and the Libyans, and then like the crackle of lightning across the hood, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never gotten up to 88 miles an hour in a parking lot.
Yeah. But like on a freeway, people are going about 85 often.
I'll take your word for it. I thought Californians had to drive at like 5 miles an hour because traffic was so fucking terrible.
Oh, it is most of the time, but when you're driving across country, there are plenty of stretches on I-80 to just
So I'm speaking of speed and reference and whatnot. I'm gonna give a little kudos to Tom Cruise and every single running scene he's ever been in because he looks pretty speedy, right?
Right.
We being myself and a couple of guys that I work with, were involved with shooting a commercial for something that has to do with the industry that I work in. And for part of this, we had to pretend like we were being stung by bees and running away from the bees, right? So I don't know how many times we did this, like 30 maybe, but it was consistently like you need to go faster and faster and faster. And to George Lucas's credit, you know, faster, more intense was basically what we were searching for, because like when you'd look at it, more like near dead sprint, like across the fucking view of the camera, and it just kind of looked like we were on like a Sunday stroll. And I'm like huffing and panting, and like I'm like, fuck, how do you make us look faster than, because
you got to put something behind you. Creed 2.
Well,
Creed 2 that just came out did this amazingly. Yeah.
There was.
I don't know how
us,
they did it.
There's like a fence and trees and whatnot. We were outside, so it was shot like on location in a yard. But it was.
There's other things to do too, like upping the shutter speed and reducing motion blur will help you look like you're going really fast too.
I was only there to be in
to run
uniform and with equipment and pretending to be attacked by bees. I had zero to do with the production of anything. But I'm, just looking at it, because I know like I'm fucking running pretty fucking hard, and then I look at it and I'm like, man, it just looks like I'm kind of walking across the camera.
Yep. So anyways, yeah, that's how I felt about the dogfights. They weren't bad. It was odd to me that they didn't feel speedy.
How did you feel about Poe and Kaz's interaction about whether or not Kaz has used a blaster before?
That was interesting to me, because Kaz talks about using blasters in the simulations.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I don't understand is, like, the first scene we see him in a dog fight, but I guess under no circumstances he's ever had to use a blaster.
Like, you're talking about the first scene, like, of the series in general.
Yeah,
right.
In The Recruit, when we meet Kaz, we know he's a awesome pilot for, like, the Naval Academy or whatever.
Well, we are told.
Yeah, we're told. So it's one of those moments where I go, like, I guess we haven't seen him use a blaster, but also, wait, what?
Yeah, it was kind of odd. I just kind of assumed that everyone in the Star Wars universe was, like, familiar with blaster firing. It's kind of like the Old West. Like, everybody knows how to, like, gunsling, right? I don't know.
I wouldn't say everybody. Like, I wouldn't say Niku knows how to do that,
I bet you Niku would be really fucking good at it.
I'm sure he would be good at it, but I also don't feel like he has done it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You would just have to tell him, like, one time, then he'd have, like, 47 questions, and then after that, he'd be an ace fucking shot.
Right.
But I guess I was more thinking also, like, how Poe just, like, it's set up as, like, a joke, and then Poe's like, well, this isn't a simulation, so these things are actually going to fire back at you, and you'll actually have to shoot actual shots at these actual things. And later, when the security droid, like, pops up, Kaz is, like, trying to fucking shoot and not doing so well, and Poe's like, are you going to fucking hit the thing or what? Kaz straight goes, well, I haven't seen you hit it, which I thought was good.
One shot. Yeah.
Yep. One shot, done.
And I thought, yeah, it was a good comeback right at that moment. But it was still, it was just a weird, interesting thing. Like, also, like, why was that droid there? Why was that droid alone? Why weren't there anything else?
I think it was like, a security droid for the base. And when they left the base, it was powered down or whatever. And something that something that Kaz and Poe had done must have
Like just triggered
reawakened
it,
it, or it could have been BB-8 or CB-23.
Mm-hmm.
Note about CB-23. Poe calls this droid either CB or 23. Like, it's not, like, you call R2-D2 R2. Like, nobody ever calls R2-D2 D2.
D2, yeah.
And 3PO, C3PO is called, like, 3PO for short, right? You don't just call him, like, CP. But CB-23 gets called both CB and 23, and I thought that was kind of cool. Like, a couple of different
interchangeable nicknames is nice.
Yeah.
Multiple choice. Yeah.
I only have two other things. One is about Kaz's dad. I also thought it was interesting that Kaz brings his dad up, and he's like, if the rest of the Senate is like my dad, they're not going to believe just this little bit of information as proof of anything the First Order is doing. Do we need to, like, further dive into that, or kind of, like, does his dad is he just like a straight, believes in the New Republic and doesn't believe in the First Order, or is the First Order, like we've talked about it before, is the First Order a small enough thing that people really don't know about it? I don't know, because everybody on the Colossus seems to know about the First Order and talk about the First Order all the fucking time. Or what?
For a show, yeah. The issue is we don't have evidence for it, and we're watching a show that I was hoping would expand this universe just a bit, but we're getting a tiny little glimpse into the Colossus. And as you said, yeah, everybody in the Colossus is aware that the First Order exists, but we have no clue how anything works with this New Republic, right? All we get is them being blown up in The Force Awakens, right? So, I would like to figure out who this mystery father is, where we only saw him but not his face for a bit.
We've heard him before, and I think that there is a voice actress that is credited with doing the voice of Kaz's mother, although I don't remember hearing her before. So maybe in the future we will we'll learn a little bit more about Kaz's family, which would I think that would be nice. That would be cool.
And it is weird that we've gone this far, because I feel like there are so many good stories that could be told regarding having a father that's a senator in this universe at this time, where Kaz is working for the Resistance, but if his father doesn't believe the First Order is a thing, like, why isn't... I feel like that is a good drama point there.
Yep, fair enough.
It's really weird to me that, like, I completely forgot about it until Kaz brought it up in this episode, and then I literally kind of just got mad at the show as a whole to be like, oh shit, I forgot that was a relationship that has been brought up but explored in zero ways.
Yeah, we've learned more about Yeager's family than Kaz's family.
Right.
And it's
fucking weird, right?
Yeah.
So
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the future we'll learn some more about Kaz's parents, or maybe at least get to meet his parents and kind of see what made what propelled Kaz to want to basically go AWOL from the New Republic military to go on this new mission. Because as we know, Leia essentially has no ties to the New Republic government any longer.
Right.
The story behind that is that she ran for, I don't know what the title of the leader is, president, supreme leader, I don't fucking know, whatever it is. She was running for that, and then in the new canon, what happened is that somebody exposed the fact that Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. And so it was let out that Leia was Vader's daughter, and after that she had no traction and no support, because everybody's like, oh, we're not gonna fucking put Vader's daughter in charge of the fucking universe. Like, that's not gonna happen. That's a terrible idea. And it was at that point that she started forming the Resistance. But
so with what Kaz says, do you find that to be sort of like a burn from Kaz to the father?
No, I think it's I think that he is being, he's being truthful. I don't think it's a dig at anybody. I think what he's trying to do is be realistic. And when you couple that with Leia's statement that a lot of the Senate is profiteering off of war anyway, which I had a question of how does she know that? And
she still has contacts in the government, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then secondarily, like when you put those two things together, that is a little bit of world building, right? Mm-hmm. It expands our view of this new Senate also, where things probably aren't 100% on the up and up. Right. Not necessarily that there's as much corruption as Sheev Palpatine, but also that there's maybe not all of the people that are involved in this New Republic government are in it for the right reasons.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So I guess taking those two things into account, putting those together, it's a nice touch to give us a little glimpse into the red tape of bureaucracy of the New Republic. One thing popped into my head that I wanted to ask you about, and how do you feel about Kaz's solution to helping out Poe when there's a couple of dogfights. One is like an aerial dogfight, and one is what I call a running gun, where Poe and Kaz get separated, and they're just running through the station, trying to get back to their ships that are being delivered back to them by CB-23. Side note, how does CB-23 fly 2 X-Wings from 1 X-Wing? That's just weird.
Remote piloting,
Bizarre.
An advanced droid.
Yeah. That was new to me. I'm not sure if I like that. But, so they're in this running gun, and Phasma and a couple of troopers are chasing them, right? And after they're separated, they're on like 2 different like skywalks, and Poe's trying to cross over like another bridge to get over to where Kaz is. Kaz runs up to this control station and activates like a crane or something and brings it up and just like smashes the fucking bridge. I thought it was awesome. I was like, this is Kaz. This shows that Kaz is more than the bumbling idiot that walks around the bazaar like knocking over fish crates and shit like that. Like, yeah, he has some agency to him. He can think on his feet. He's got something behind him more than the juvenile goof off that we've seen him be on the Colossus.
Right. I agree with you. I just wish that there was more of a transition or lead up to this based on what we have seen before. And I know I was talking about this in the last episode as well, where we just went from bumbling idiot straight into like trying his best to be a spy and keep stuff from Toradoza, right? And I'm glad to see him not be a bumbling idiot, but because we have seen him there, I just wish there was more of a decent transition for that.
I wish that what we would have seen the past 9 episodes could have included like Kaz like trying to do well, and like I wish he would strike out swinging not strike out standing there like
right,
just watching the ball fly past, right?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And if he could have been doing some more things like this, like, oh well, if I do this, like this will help out, he doesn't need a dialogue about it, but we're an audio thing, so that's what we need to do. And like having some foresight and thought, like to respond to a situation instead of like running around like Grover with his hands fucking flailing over his head, to actually like engage in the situation, even if he fails along the way, and then see him do the same type of thing and succeed here. And he's got a good statement when he grabs Poe and pulls him like up onto the bridge or skyway or whatever you want to call it. He says like, I thought for once I could do the saving.
Right.
And Poe's just like, hey, I agree with you. Let's go. And he just takes it in stride and like keep on going. Like just that would have been awesome. It would have been an even better moment. It was a good moment here. Change a couple things in the past, could have been even better. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I like the moment here for sure. But yeah, it's just I wish this was the show's regular.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
hopefully it will be moving forward.
Right.
Speaking of moving forward, there's no title out for what should be next week's episode, and I am wondering if we're taking a mid-season break here, which would put this because this is like the 11th part. It's the 10th episode that's come out, but the recruit is maybe
counts as 1 and 2 instead
maybe
of just
counts as 1 and 2, right? So this would put this direct midway in the season. If we do have a mid-season / holiday break, whatever, we're going to come back later. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it would have been awesome because at the end of last week, right, Tora, that's her name, right? Tora Doza. Tora's like, are you a spy? If we would have ended on that and then had like a month or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever break and then came back and like jumped right back into that, it would have been a nice cliffhanger for like the mid-season. But now that we have like another story and there's something else going on, like who knows, but
I don't know, like that last week's ending was there. It didn't excite me in any way. It was just one of those little moments that was nice but not thrilling to me. And I can't, as the show is now, I can't see it being really good at dropping any cool sort of cliffhanger that would make me excited for the next episode, because it's been such like a haphazard mishmash of like, oh, we got a cool few singular episodes that are dealing with whatever random shit's happening here. Like Kaz makes friends and the friends hate him now. You know, Yeager had a family. Say what? And then
there's pirates, and then they go away.
So there's nothing that the show could really drop as like a mid-season finale sort of thing that would make me go like for the next like month. Like you and I are like, even though we talk for an hour at the end of each episode, it's not like we're sitting here like what do you think that means, man? Like what do you like? Where could this go? Right?
So do you think that there is something that could have happened that would have got us to do that? Like what if
not as the show, like I would need one through story and then like a drop rather than like 10 or 11 individual episodes and then they try and drop in like oh, Kaz's father came back. But who gives a shit because we haven't heard anything about him for...
Kaz's father is actually Kylo Ren.
Right. Like...
Ooh, that would be fucked up.
Yeah, no. I've just... Yeah, as the way this show is going now, you know, it hasn't structured itself in a way that would make a drop like that feel natural.
Do you see the potential for that to happen like at the end of season 1, or do you think it's just gonna kind of be like another 11 episodes of yada yada yada?
Possibly, like maybe if it kind of comes together, because here's the thing. I felt the same way at the start of Rebels, and it really wasn't until the end of season 2 that the story caught up with it, then had a finale where I was telling everybody, even non-Star Wars fans, I was like, okay, I need to just fucking rant for a second. Rebels ended with this cliffhanger. Like, my heart is racing. I don't know what the fuck just happened. Shit went down. Mysteries abound.
Yeah, that was one of the first deep conversations that we had sitting on the floor at the convention center was about Rebels, and you trying to convince me that I need to watch that, and me trying to convince you that you need to watch the Clone Wars.
Right.
But I've recently been reviewing Rebels. I haven't been watching them, but friends of the show, Rebels Pod, I've been listening. I just finished up season 1 of their show and moved on to season 2, so it's got me engaged.
Yeah, because like season 1 is fine. Like, there's a good season 1 finale, but there's nothing major that, like, I was gonna continue watching, but it wasn't until I believe it's season 2, once Ahsoka and Darth Vader have a reunion, right?
You just spoiled it for me.
It's all over the place.
I'm joking. I have seen it before. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but then, like, that's the episode, right? Like, that's the sort of thing that we need, and that's the sort of thing that I would like here to try and just I understand what the show wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it's just it's trying to play both fields. Where, like, remember, like, the first 3 episodes kept ending with First Order scenes that came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, after the pirates, and then the pirates are talking to Phasma, like, ooh, there's a twist for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, like, they dropped that for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then it's just like, what are you doing? Like, do you want me to try and think that there's something big happening, or are we just gonna watch Kaz bumbling around? Right.
Right. Well, I hope that after this episode, moving forward, that cohesion happens, and we get to see less Jar Jar Kaz and more Finn Kaz.
More like,
maybe.
Yeah.
Or
more
Rey
Finn Kaz, or
Kaz.
even Ezra Kaz, like late Ezra Kaz.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, so that's my curiosity to what the showrunners of Resistance kind of want to make me feel regarding how we end each episode.
I think some of these are supposed to be, introducing like character bits and whatnot, and getting you acquainted with the Colossus as a whole. And I would anticipate that moving forward, we're going to get a little bit tighter through line.
There are still so many ways you could have done that through just telling a straightforward story. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. So just think of a show like even something as, like, I don't know why this one's coming to mind, but like a show like Revenge on ABC. You know, like, there was so much convoluted shit that needed to be set up with that show. You know, It was just a primetime soap opera, but all the same, there was like a straightforward, direct line of like, this woman wants revenge because this family fucked over her father, and she's gonna fucking get this revenge, right? And each episode was still a standalone episode, but you still got it kept building the sense of like who this crazy family is and how she's fitting in, and will she get her revenge? And she's a fucking spy, you know. Like, nobody knows who she really is.
Yeah.
But yeah. But on this one, like, there's on Resistance, like, they have to stop and explain a market. You know, like, no, just build it into the story somehow.
Well, let's throw the hammer down on this one and final judgment, thumbs up, thumbs down, what you got?
For this one, despite all of that ranting, I did like this episode, so I'm gonna go thumbs up.
Cool.
As a standalone episode, like I said, I'm glad we're finally getting to the point where there's the greater story is constantly at play now. So we got Phasma, we got Von Reg back finally. Von Reg, who we haven't seen for I feel like a long time, because we got a lot of Commander Pyre going. Because for a hot second I didn't even remember what his name was until somebody finally said Von Reg.
I couldn't remember until the end of the episode either.
I was blanking out for real.
My note was Major Red Guy.
Right. Because to me, the Red Stormtrooper is, if you've ever seen him at any conventions, I'm sure you've had to at Star Wars Celebration, the Red Stormtrooper that's in the Adidas gear with the boombox.
I don't know if I've seen him.
What?
But I have seen just like a full-blown Red Stormtrooper.
Oh, no. There's a Red Stormtrooper that I've seen at multiple conventions. So, WonderCon, I've seen him at Comic-Con, and I thought I've seen him at Star Wars Celebration 2015, Anaheim. It's a Red Stormtrooper, but he has the 3 stripes running down the sides, and he's got like an Adidas. He wears like Adidas Reds, and he carries a boombox and has like some gold chains too. And he's always playing like Run DMC and shit. So
nice.
Yeah. So every time I see Von Reg, that's the Stormtrooper I think of. So I'm just waiting for him to bust out some raps.
Just bust a move.
Yeah. But so yeah, overall, I think this episode on its own for sure, I think is well done. Just minor issues, like I wish the dogfights were a little speedier, but on the whole, like you said, that moment where Kaz like fucking takes out a catwalk, I thought was pretty cool. But
catwalk is like a good description of
right, the platform thing they're on. Yeah. So like this is the show I wanted Resistance to be for the last 9 prior episodes. So
well, fingers crossed we'll continue this moving forward.
We're building towards it.
I am also giving this one a thumbs up.
Very nice.
It's kind of mid-range for me, but it's definitely not a thumbs down. So yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah,
on the
like
binary scale of up down, this one gets an up.
Yeah, this one gets an up. Yeah, like I said, it's not a great 30 minutes of television. I wouldn't consider anything out of this show fantastic yet, but I would say this is maybe one of the better episodes of Resistance.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a couple that I was more excited about than this one, but we'll see.
So, hopefully this show keeps up this momentum, and I will feel a lot better about watching this week by week.
I am wondering if there's going to be an episode that comes out next week, and if not, it would kind of be unfortunate if we're like, we just got this little momentum push, and then we're just going to let it mellow out for the next however long until we get another episode. But
with this show, I wouldn't be surprised. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. As of right now, we don't. I don't have an episode title for you for next week. Nothing, so in the meantime, if any of you guys out there figure out what's going on for the what would that be
what are you talking?
16th. December 16th next week. That's next Sunday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so if you know, if you got any insight into what's going on for Star Wars Resistance for December 16th, 2018, let us know. And you can do that on Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast. That's Lorenzo. Or on Twitter at Not the Nerds. And if you wanted to be a little more discreet and be secretive about it, you can shoot us an email, notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. Shouts out to They Call Me K-Dub for putting together our podcast artwork. And as always, Lindsay over at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com for intro-outro music. What else you got, Lorenzo?
Well, that's about it. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, and also we've been putting episodes on YouTube as well. Audio only still, but they are there. Those are places you can listen to us. Please subscribe. Give us reviews, ratings, thumbs ups, whatever.
Yeah.
However you listen to us, just let us know what you're thinking. So until next week, I've been Lorenzo Phan.
I'm Kevin Hord.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Adios.